Wolf Blademaster, Seleucids, Maximus Decimus Meridius, Arverni. Semifinals, boys! I just want to start off this commentary by saying Happy New Year to all of our viewers all over the globe. We really appreciate all the support you guys have shown us over the last couple of years as we've done YouTube, and best wishes for a wonderful 2015. I hope you all really enjoy it. We are now in the semifinals. It's going to be Maximus Decimus Meridius on Arverni and Blademaster from Wolf Clan on Seleucids. Pretty interesting matchup. They actually decided to do Sandstorm in the desert at nighttime, so it was really hard for me to see anything, and I had to turn the gamma way up. I raised it to like 30, if that means anything to you guys. It's way higher than it normally is, and it looks kind of ugly, to be honest, but there was really no way I could see anything. It was actually pitch black. Like, I actually couldn't see anything. So I raised the gamma a little bit just so you guys could see what was going on. Not going to be the most beautiful replay, but very interesting in terms of army compositions and what we'll be seeing here. So we are on Alexandria, and Wolf Blademaster is on Seleucids. He's brought a Indian armored elephant, or Syrian armored elephant, and a bunch of hillmen. I believe 6 hillmen as a rush force, some horse skirmishers that are hidden over here at the moment, and then some Hellenic cataphracts, I believe 3 of those, and 2 Agema cavalry. So what he's going to be trying to do in this replay is get at this Arverni army in the woods, and I love the setup from Seleucids just because of its uniqueness, its variety. It's not something we really probably would have expected to see in this tournament at all. It's not a build I've actually ever seen from Seleucids before, but I think on this map it's going to be really hard for Blademaster to push the advantages he wants to. This was a map like Nemo to Chenna, perfectly flat, no woods. The Hellenic cataphracts and the horse skirmishing could do a lot of damage here. Like, they could get at a lot of these heavy horse, they could get a lot of the chosen swordsmen for the Arverni, kind of isolate them out on the open field, and then get huge charges off. In the woods, with the compact formation that Maximus Decimus Meridius has right now, it's going to be really hard to crack that nut. Now, as we all know, barbarian rushes have been the meta. We've seen them a lot. And this is a little bit of a different build. You're actually seeing 5 heavy horse out of the Arverni, and I really like this because right now, kind of an imbalance in the game, but one that Maximus is going to push to his advantage, is that heavy horse, the really cheap 650 talent, 700 talent heavy cavalry, can actually do a great job of shutting down cataphract units one-on-one in melee combat, especially in something like the woods where they can't get a huge devastating charge off. Mercenary Syrian armored elephants also going to have a difficult time getting a massive charge bonus in the woods. So what you're probably going to see here from Maximus is use the heavy horse with maybe some spear support, which he has brought. He's brought some Levy Freeman and a spear warrior as well. Some spear warriors out on the flanks. He's going to try to shut down those cataphract charges by just blending it with the Levy Freeman and then tying down the cataphract with the heavy horse. If Blademaster can't pull out, which he might have a lot of difficulty doing because the cataphracts are slower than heavy horse, and because it's in the woods, which will slow them down even more, he could lose a lot of guys trying to charge into this. So I'm interested to see how he takes this engagement. He does have some horse skirmishers out in the back just trying to whittle away a little bit, but they really can't do any damage to high armored units in the woods. So I think that looking at builds, strictly speaking, Maximus has a huge advantage, and I love the ballsiness from Blademaster here. I love the army composition. I just don't think that Hillmen are going to be able, I know Hillmen are not going to be able to do a lot of damage to Oathsworn or Chosen Swordsmen in melee combat. So it really is reliant on getting huge hammer and anvils off with the cataphracts and great charges, but getting those charges is going to be really hard when he's just sitting here in the woods. So we'll see how things progress. The Indian armored, or the Syrian armored elephant, I'm going to keep calling it Indian, so just excuse me when I do. They can cause mass routes. I mean, when you see cataphracts charging in from the flanks, and you get an elephant right up your center into the middle of your swords, that's going to do a lot of damage. And if Maximus for some reason isn't prepared for it or doesn't have the units available to make them rout, or just if Blademaster gets lucky and they end up rampaging through the middle of the swords without there being a lot to reinforce there, then maybe they could end up doing enough damage to turn this in his favor, especially with the charges coming in. But I believe that Maximus has a perfect build to counter what Seleucids have brought in this game. So we will see how things progress. But he also brought some Celtic slingers, which was very smart. I'm sure that he knew he was going to be seeing an elephant. Being Arverni, he knew that that's one of the best counters to barbarian rushes is elephants. And so he brought the 3 slingers there just to do a little bit of skirmishing and probably make the elephant run amok before it enters melee combat. Rest of Blademaster's army is hidden. I believe there are some cataphracts and hillmen right here. They should be engaging shortly. And here the Agema cavalry and the cataphracts come. So I believe he's going to go straight for the main line here, just try to get some charges off before spears can reinforce. And we'll see how this does. I think the lighting at nighttime in this game is a little ugly, but that was a really good charge from Maximus here. He's going to get the heavy horse up, blunt the charge, and get his chosen swordsman into shield wall. And this Agema cavalry is already losing quite a few men, and they'll lose even more shortly. Some more cataphracts right up the middle. He's just going to charge directly into the front of these swords. And actually that charge was into a bunch of levy freemen in the woods, so that's really not the charge he wants at all. And unsupported, I mean, these Hellenic cataphracts are obviously not going to do a ridiculous amount of damage, but he actually did manage to waver some of these Celtic slingers, which I'm a little surprised about. There is some wavering on the Arverni line here. Levy freemen are wavering. It's actually a pretty decent charge from the Hellenic cataphracts, but he did use trample. I'm sure he has second wind general. We'll see. Yeah, he has second wind, so he should refresh that relatively soon. And mercenary Syrian armored elephants in the middle here, doing some damage to the front line. And we'll see if they can break through the center here. I think it's, again, going to be really difficult, but some more heavy horse following the Hellenic cataphracts out of that melee combat. Tying them down. Should be able to shut them down, prevent them from getting another really good charge off. Horse skirmishers are in the back, and actually it looks like the Arverni right flank is breaking. Some of the levy freemen have routed spear warriors as well, so good use from Blademaster here of the cataphracts and Agema cavalry to actually rout the spears off the field. If he can collapse in on the Arverni flank right here, he might actually be in okay shape. But the center here, the hillmen, are going to get beaten to hell. They have absolutely no hope of beating chosen swordsmen. But I did like that he used those charges to kind of soften up the front line for the Arverni. Balance bar is even at the moment, and once those spears end up routing on that side, he might be able to collapse in, but at the moment Maximus's main line is holding relatively strong. Syrian armored elephants are only up to 65 kills, and they've been in melee combat for a while. They actually aren't doing a whole lot of damage at the moment, and they are fatigued. He use they're not fatigued, never mind. That's one of the other units. The hillmen are fatigued. Yeah, the main line of hillmen is going to start collapsing relatively soon here. And I think when that happens and there's something like a hammer and anvil, it's going to become even harder for Blademaster. But he has a cataphract that is now in the back of the Arverni main line. They're going to get into some Celtic slingers, obviously do a lot of damage there. And we can see through the darkness some of the mercenary Syrian armored elephants doing a lot of damage in the center. But they really, actually, they've been in combat for like 30 more seconds since I last talked about them. Only got like 5 kills during that time period. So they're actually in the middle of this barbarian main line, but they're not doing very much damage. And that's a problem because they really are the unit that he needs to get a ton of kills on. And he's not going to be able to pull them out because they are rampaging. So he's going to have to keep pulling out his cataphract, cycle charging, trying to do more damage. But the charges from the front onto these heavily armored units really not doing as much as he probably wants them to. Hellenic cataphracts, the general unit that used trample at the beginning, only up to 44 kills. And they really haven't done... They're at 85. So there's another good charge there, but a lot of it was on levy freemen, some spear warriors. Like, they're starting to get beaten to hell. The general's down to half strength. They've lost a lot of their HP, to be honest. And the Arverni main line is holding really strong, and this is just... I mean, this is kind of macro. This is just macro play. Like, there's not a lot of micro here. There's not a lot for Maximus to do. He really does kind of just have to sit in the forest. Maybe blunt a couple charges with the heavy horse, which he did really good on the right flank. Blocked one of the Agema cab charges. But really just tie down the cavalry and hope that your main line holds, and I'm pretty sure that it's going to here. Balance bar shifting very much in Maximus's favor. And the cataphracts just aren't able to make their presence felt in the woods. Like, it's simply a design of the game. Like, the cataphracts, a build like this isn't going to work on a map like Alexandria, and I think that it was just a mistake from Blademaster to bring this kind of build against a barbarian army. He knew that there was going to be some counterpicking there. He knew that the Arverni were going to go for... actually, I believe that Seleucids, Blademaster, picked this map. So yeah, I think bringing a build like this on a map like this, unless he didn't know what the map was definitely a mistake. I mean, just charging into that many high armored swords and spears in the woods just wasn't going to work out for him. So, main line's basically crumbled at this point. Persian hoplites engaging now, Hellenic cataphracts with 150 kills, but a lot of those were on the cheap levy freeman that didn't really matter. And again, it wasn't really down to micro, it was more just down to the macro play, positioning your troops, getting them in a position that really it was going to be extremely hard for Seleucids to win. And he did the same thing with Getae against Achilles earlier in the tournament, sat in the woods, knew that his opponent brought a cataphract build, and just kind of weathered the storm. And that's what happened here. I mean, cataphracts in general, and again with cavalry, all did pretty well. I mean, 150 kills, 208 kills. Like, those are good stats. The problem is that the rest of his army, the hillmen, aren't going to do anything. Obviously, they never were going to beat chosen swordsmen in melee or even do a lot of damage. Horse skirmishers couldn't really throw their jabs particularly well in the forest. Going to do not a lot of damage. And I think this unit right here, the Mercenary Syrian Armored Elephant, so many talents, they have to do a lot of killing in a battle like this. Against barbarians, they had to be the unit that just got like 300, 400 kills, just rampaged through the main line. And I think a big reason they didn't was because of the woods that dramatically reduces their charge bonus. But I also think that Maximus did a good job shield walling and getting his swords just in a line to throw jabs at those armored elephants. Every time they stopped running amok, they would just start running amok again because there were a bunch of jabs getting thrown at them, a bunch of slingers, and a bunch of other things that were triggering that morale penalty. So, I mean, I really like the balls here from Wolf Blademaster. I thought it was awesome that he brought a build like this, but there was really, against a good player like Maximus, not a good chance of that working on a map like Alexandria where he could just sit in the forest. So, whether he was just trying to do something unique, if he was, certainly thank you very much for doing something unique, but from a standpoint of I want to win this matchup, I don't think his army setup was particularly good to win on this map. So, I hope you guys enjoyed that battle, of course. There are going to be, this is now a best of 3 series, so if Wolf Blademaster is able to win the next game, then they will go to a decisive game 3, and hopefully we get to see that and get to see a lot more excitement and awesome gameplay coming your way. So, we'll see if it goes to 3 games. I'll bring you the next replay shortly. And again, Happy New Year to you all. We appreciate the support. Talk to you all later. Indie Pride signing out.